Have you thought about as a child, as young as 13, being diagnosed and going through chronic pain? How about having a stress fracture while doing something you love, like gymnastics? And we all know how much movement is involved in that. Today, our guest, Fiaba Zakarian, will share with us her being a preteen and having to embark on a chronic pain journey so early in life. Are you ready for another chronic pain conversation? Let's go. Hello and welcome to Chronic Pain Conversations. My name is Shifa McLaren Thomas, and this is my lovely co-host, Kalila Bruswell. This is a show where we have honest and open dialogue about chronic pain. We share our experiences, acknowledge the wide variety of chronic pain diagnoses, and look at ways to manage chronic pain. But of course, my favorite part of the show, besides our conversation, of course, is pain or pleasure. Kalila, how are you feeling?
Why is pain and pleasure always like your favorite part?
Because it's like so unpredictable. Like they never know what they'll get with us.
Well, right now it's pleasure.
Okay.
It's
So
pleasure.
hold on.
Okay.
Guys, I think this is a chronic pain conversation moment because she's pleasure right now. So I want to know why you're using pleasure.
We have to admit, the last few weeks it's been a lot of pain.
Yeah. So what's going on? What changed?
Conversations. I'm not gonna lie. Like one of the things that we don't have a conversation about is, I've literally been up and moved to California. I'm not like officially here, but I'm temporarily here.
Yeah.
And there is this place where my body's moved. It's in a different temperature. It's in a different atmosphere. It's in a different environment. It's just, and all of that means figuring out who you are still in the middle of that, connecting with people. It's like high school all over again, trying to figure out who you actually can connect with, which club you want to hang with. And it's been a little bit of a stress because I don't know if it's I'm not ready for LA or LA's not ready for me.
For you.
Because I'm a very upfront kind of person. And I've been trying to figure myself out in this place where, I hate to say it, but a lot of people wear masks. But we have this conversation about
literally
all the time because of chronic pain. Mm-hmm. And we've gotten past that part where we're like, I'm not going to put on the mask.
Right.
This is who I am. Right. Love me, accept me. And if you don't, deuces, love me or list me.
Right.
And, a lot of the people that I've connected with, they either say you're from LA or you've moved to LA. And I've been having the opportunity where I've been having conversations with people who have moved to LA. Mm-hmm. And so they've been where I've been. Mm-hmm. And it's like, they're like, don't get caught up in the hustle and bustle. I was like, I don't want to. And I think the pleasure and the smile is just the affirmation of I get to be who I want to be. And even though I'm trying to figure out who I am, it's not a downgrade. It's an actual elevation. Right. This opportunity will help me stand more in who I am. In a place where like it's lonely out here, Rifa.
Of course.
My mom got and
I'm not there.
When my cousin passed away, like people don't know this, but my cousin committed suicide a few weeks ago. Yeah. And the hugs, the kisses, it's not the same, the personal support, the emotional support. And we talk about the psychological part. And, I have people that are calling me like, is your body okay? Because they know I might be having seizures or all this other stuff. And so I think for the first time, I think that I've actually had very authentic conversations that have been healing for me. So that is my pleasure.
I want to answer that question you're wondering, whether you're not ready for LA or LA's not ready for you. I think personally, and I'm not going to banter about it and I don't want an answer, but I think and I know that LA ain't ready for you. So
What is your pain and pleasure? Because I've talked so much.
I am all pleasure. I think today's the first day that we're both pleasure. I can't lie. I've been doing good today so far. A little wonky like earlier, but overall, I think as the day went on, it smoothed itself out to where I'm in a pleasurable place right now.
You're absolutely right. We have not both been in pleasure. So
Yeah, it's
what?
either one or the other. So we have never been on the same page, especially when it came to pleasure. So chronic pain moment right here.
Yeah, it only took 3 seasons.
Yep. Three.
I'm excited about today.
I'm more than excited.
I'm so excited about today because we get to shed a light in an area that we don't talk about a lot. And we're talking about kids. And one of the funniest things, especially since I do my child and youth worker and I speak and all this other stuff, is adults forget that kids, youth, they go through what we go through. They deal with cancer. They deal with broken bones. They deal with chronic pain. I remember one of our shows talked about the youngest kid recorded with depression was 7 years old.
Yeah.
And we don't talk about it. So I'm so glad that.
I think it's kind of weird that we don't, because if you really think about it, look at all the children hospitals all over the world. How does that slip us?
It's not that. I think it's I don't know if our audience can relate to this or not, but we have this place where you hear adults, like as a West Indian, and I know that you can hear this, is like, children are to be seen and not heard. And so they don't get to advocate. They don't get to talk. They don't get to, you get to grieve if you've lost a pet or a parent or a grandparent.
Right.
But, when a kid says they're in pain, it's like, tough it up. And
exactly.
It's not that. And today, like, did you know that about 15 to 18% of children in the United States live with chronic health? 15 to 18%, Rifa.
That's quite a huge amount.
That's not a small number. And then they say approximately 5 to 38% of children and adolescents, they suffer from this. And it's like 38% of our children. That's more than 25. That's more than a quarter. We're talking about close to 40%. That is a very big number.
Yeah.
And I give a shout out to all the parents.
Absolutely.
I give out a shout out to today's guest is not a child, but was a child in chronic pain and is still a young adult. And I'm glad that we get to have this conversation and she gets to advocate. We always think that the kids are just living their dreams, or they're trying to form themselves into their dreams. But what happens when you're broken? You know what I'm saying? And you're hurting and you're in pain.
Absolutely.
And especially when it's a chronic invisible pain. Like, it's bad enough that as adults, when you say you're in pain, people are like, whatever, it's in your head. What happens when you're 7 and 8 and you don't even know how to actually articulate yourself?
I was just about to say, because I feel like me and you, sometimes don't even know how to describe it, much less a child coming up still trying to figure out how to articulate and bring across certain things. Like, how do they explain how they're feeling?
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, I'm definitely excited about today's show.
Okay, so Fiaba has this amazing story, and I met her actually while I was down here in California, while I'm in here, because I met her through a chronic pain group. And if people don't know, and we talk about it all the time, there are chronic pain groups, even in COVID, that you don't have to leave your home. You can be in your bed and you can have an environment and a community that, talk to you and understand you. And this is where I met her. Right. And it's in one of the first chronic pain groups that I even joined when I was here in California. And the authenticity that comes from her and the genuineness that comes from her and the truthfulness about her chronic pain. And as soon as I met her and I heard part of her story, I was like, she needs to be on this show. And, when she was telling us about this, and I'm going to have to try and do this again, because, you guys know we're going to have to do bloopers on us trying to say certain words. Like, there's just going to be a reel on it. So she used to do this high level gymnastic, like Olympic gym people. We're not talking about your basic gym. We're talking about someone who literally was training their body in an Olympic gym, Bresciana American Gymnastics. So we're going to definitely have her come in and talk to us about it. But, you know, her sleep is affected by her ailment, and she's going to share that. But, you know, even now she has problems with her sleep and her concentration, and pain takes up so much of her consciousness, that she says, you know, and she's like, she's trying to process it, and she's trying not to deal with the feelings of resentment, which a lot of our audience don't know. Our kids, the young adults and the teenagers that we have in this group, the conversations that they have when it comes to their parents, when it comes to their adult community, in terms of hearing them while they advocate or try to explain something that they don't even know and fathom, there can be resentment. There can be certain things. So I'm ready to bring her on. Are you ready to bring her on?
I've been ready.
Are you?
I've been
I'm so
How
happy
are you doing,
here.
my love?
I'm doing well today. How are you guys doing?
We're excited.
We're great. Like, there's times where Teresa's always like, I'm always ready, but then there's that little oomph in her voice. She's ready to have you on today.
Yeah, she knows when I'm ready, but she knows when I'm ready. And I'm ready today.
Ready. So thank you for first and foremost coming on. So first of all, tell our audience what your name is, and also, can you give us an idea of some of the chronic ailments that you live with right now and some that you dealt with when you were younger?
So my name is Fiaba Zakarian, and when I was younger, I did gymnastics, and I ended up getting 2 stress fractures. So stress fractures are actually fractures that happen over time. So it's not like you're doing one move and you mess up and you break your back. Like, your back actually breaks over time from the pounding. So I had 2 stress fractures, and I had 2 bulging discs in my back. And those were diagnosed when I was 13. And then today I still suffer from bulging discs. I'm pretty sure the stress fractures are healed over, but the bulging discs are what cause a lot of the pain, because it radiates to my feet, it radiates to my hands and to my head. And I also have a lot of muscle spasms going up and down my back. So my back, if you feel it, my back will be very tight. And it's really hard to get those to loosen up. So I do like a lot of like massage therapy and physical therapy. Those help a little bit, but yeah, all in all, my back is super tight and I have radiating pain going down my body.
Wow.
I'm okay. So
I want to say something. When I heard stress fracture, I didn't know it would have been that intense.
Wow.
To be honest, I never heard of that before.
Oh, really? Yeah, it's kind of common in athletes, but the reason it usually heals over okay, but the reason mine was so bad was because I actually kept training on it for 6 weeks before I actually went to the doctors.
It's oh my gosh.
Okay. So can I ask you, was it painful during that time?
Oh yeah. So it started off as a dull pain. So I went to the doctor actually very early on, and they were like, it's just muscular.
Oh, okay.
And then it started getting worse and worse. But as you were talking about, I was training at this Olympic gym, Breastgens, under coaches Mihai and Sylvia Breastgen. And I don't know if you follow the sport very much, but in the past 4 years, we've had a lot coming out about gymnastics. This Olympics, Simone Biles actually went off the floor for mental health reasons. And in the past, we actually found out that Larry Nassar had been sexually abusing girls in gymnastics for a very long time, over 20 years. So there's been a lot coming out about gymnastics, and there's been a lot revealed about the systems at play in gymnastics that actually harm athletes and don't protect them. So When I was doing gymnastics at this Olympic gym, I experienced a lot of that. Our coaches would pit gymnasts against each other. They would call them idiots. They would say horrible things to girls if they fell off a balance beam, which is a 4-inch piece of wood. So you can imagine how easy it is to fall off a balance beam. And one of the big things that they would also do is they would deny the athletes were in pain. So if you were in pain and you wanted to sit down or you wanted to sit out for a little bit, they would say, oh, you're just being lazy. You just don't want to work. And they would discourage girls from going to the doctors. They would say, well, if you go to the doctor and they tell you to be out for a month, then you're not going to be able to do gymnastics for a month. And gymnastics is a sport that requires a lot of maintenance. So if you're out for a month, you are going to fall behind. So girls are terrified of this. And the culture in gymnastics is just one that promotes this of like ignoring your pain and just pushing through it. And there's like a glorification of like pushing through your pain. I don't know if you know, I think it was, I can't remember her name, but a very famous gymnast in my mom's era, so like 1970s, 80s, who actually won the Olympics on a broken foot. And it was a huge event and people were so proud of her. So it's this kind of glorification of pushing through your pain that actually is at play all over the sport of gymnastics. So when I was, sorry, go ahead.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
And I didn't mean to. Did that mindset travel with you along your chronic pain journey as you grew older in terms of muscle up, push through it? Was that difficult for you? Like, tell us how you told us about, what you've had when you were 13, but how did that go along? Like, it took you 6 weeks to even go and get diagnosed.
Mm-hmm.
What does that do to you?
It's been very difficult to work through. That wasn't the first injury I worked through. That was just the worst one that ended up having the longest consequences in my life. So my journey has been a lot about learning to love my body and to be accepting of it, to feel like it's not working against me. Because when I did gymnastics and I was in pain and I couldn't do the skills that I wanted to do, a lot of it was being mad at my body. Like, you're betraying me. And growing up as a teenager, just feeling like I already didn't like my body because, in gymnastics, you're supposed to be small. So going through puberty, I was already not liking my body. And then when my body would hurt, I didn't like it even more. So it's been a really long journey of self-acceptance and learning to love my body and learning that my body is just responding to the trauma that it's been through. It's not, it's not doing something malicious, or it's not trying to be in pain. Like, it really is just trying to protect me. So that has been very difficult, but it's been a journey that I'm still on and that I'm improving on, but it's still a lot to work through.
I have to say, with what you just said, I got chills, because I think of how many parents put their children in gymnastics, but to know that's behind the scenes, that's the mentality and stuff like that, like, that's very surprising to me, and I would have never thought. Besides the stress fractures, was there anything else along with that is affecting you today?
There has been plenty of mental health issues that go along with that. Like I said, the bulging discs are actually, I think, what is affecting me the most right now, because that does radiate pain, and I actually get steroid shots for that, which help a lot, but they help temporarily. So one of the biggest things is mental health, honestly. Like, when I feel tired or when I feel anxious, I like actually look back, what is making me tired? What is making me anxious? I realized that it's my pain. Like, I had a friend a few months ago who said, "You're always tired, Fiaba. You always, whenever I say, how are you? You always say I'm tired." And I realized that that's because I don't want to bother people to be like, well, I'm hurting all over. Like, so I just say, oh, I'm tired. And it actually does manifest in me being exhausted. Like, it's really hard for me to sleep, because if I like let my body off guard, it starts to tense up and it starts to twitch. And I have all these like pains that start to come up when I'm tired and when I'm trying to go to sleep. So sometimes I don't sleep. I go to bed at 10 and I will still be up at 6. Like, that's when it's really bad. But an average day, it takes me about 2 or 3 hours to go to sleep. So I have to factor that in. I have to factor in like the 3 hours that'll take me to go to sleep. And that's also taking away from my life spending time with friends or working towards goals that I want to achieve.
I have a question for you. You brought up what's very interesting is the words that you are using right now in terms of being lazy, don't want to burden people. These are words that we hear in the chronic pain community a lot. Growing up as a child. So from that 17 and onwards, because we also know that, our youth and our children, there's that place where, again, you kind of are a burden. I'm just taking care of you till you can go off on your own. How were you feeling through that? Did you have the ability to communicate with your family or just your community in general to be able to articulate the pain that you were going through? Were you quiet during certain times because you didn't want to bother your family? Do you know what was it like for you, even on your mental health aspect, in terms of being this kid that's going through this stuff? How much freedom did you feel, or do you feel that you had to learn about your pain or to be free about your pain?
It was really hard because my parents were being educated at the same time that I was experiencing it. So, they did their best. My mom actually also had back problems from gymnastics, so she did her very best and she helped me a lot. But it was really hard to articulate the pain together with the mental health aspects of it. So I could say my back hurts, my back hurts, my back hurts. But along with that, wrapped in that sentence is also like, I'm frustrated because I don't feel like I was protected. I am anxious because I don't know if this pain is ever going to go away. I did not get enough rest last night. So I feel, just all these other things are wrapped up in that one sentence. So it's really hard as a child, not really knowing how to compartmentalize those feelings those feelings, and not to be able to say, I am hurting and I'm also anxious and I'm also didn't get any sleep. And that ends up manifesting as not feeling heard and not feeling like, yes, my mom knows I'm in pain, but like, I feel like she doesn't understand it, even though she was trying her best and she was trying to learn, everything that she could. And my grandmother too. My grandmother also raised me. So even though they were very helpful, they were also learning along with me, and they're still learning. And there's been a lot over the past couple years that I've been able to articulate to them and share with them that I wasn't necessarily able to when I was a kid.
You said something about steroid shots with your bulging disc.
Mm-hmm.
What other treatments and medications, alternative medicines, or therapies have you utilized for your chronic pain?
I have tried a lot of things. I've tried chiropractors. I have tried acupuncture. I've tried floating on, I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but it's like a salt and water, a combination where you just kind of float for an hour. I have tried all sorts of alternative medicines. What I've found works the very best for me is a combination of shots. I have a great physician, chronic pain management physician, and I do nerve blocks and steroid shots. And that, along with doing my physical therapy every day and not slacking on the physical therapy, and also a combination of medicines that help relax my muscles and take away the inflammation and also the pain. Those three things, the shots, the physical therapy, and the medication, have been what is managing my pain very well today. And it's been a journey to find the right combination and to actually get myself to do physical therapy every day. You know, as a child, I was like, I don't want to do this. So I just didn't. And my parents, you know, there's only so much you can make a 14-year-old do, you know? So it's been also about learning to, you know, you actually have to put the work in if you want to feel better.
I'm so glad that you said that, because my next question is it's just two parts. One, at what age did you have to leave gymnastics? And two, you know, how did they teach you how to cope with your illness at a young age? Was it something that was more responsibility on your parents or more responsibility on you as a teenager, when they were trying to explain all of these big words to you and all of this, you know, scientific and medical stuff? How were you processing it so that you could cope with your illness?
So I left gymnastics about 15 or 16. I actually tried to go back after I had spent 4 months in a back brace and out of gymnastics. I actually tried to go back to gymnastics, but my body was just never the same. And I had been out for so long that it was just really hard to come back at the caliber that I wanted. So at 15, actually, after leaving, I left gymnastics and I went to a gym where I had a great experience. I ended up meeting some great people, and gymnastics actually became fun for the last 3 years that I did it. So that was great. But after leaving gymnastics, what was the second part of your question?
My second part of the question was, how did you learn to cope with your illness? You know, you're at a stage as a teenager where you're still just learning geometry, and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And now you're placed with learning all of these new medical terms. How did you cope as a teenager to deal with all of this stuff, to learn how to deal with your ailment? Like, you're talking about dealing with your body all the time, and you didn't want to do it when you were younger. At what age, you know, were you still in your teenage years where you're like, I gotta move every day? How did you learn how to cope with your illness?
I was really angry at first because I was like, I don't need this on my plate. Like, this was not my fault. This is not something that I ever wanted, and now I have to deal with it. So for a lot of years, I just was like resentful, and I wanted a quick fix. I wanted that like magic massage, or I wanted the shots to just be magic, or the medication, but it never really was. So in college, I kind of started realizing that I had a lot more autonomy than I previously thought I did, and that even though this was not my fault, it was still my responsibility. And I realized that I want to be that person that gets up and, you know, goes and plays basketball with their friends, or goes and, you know, runs around the park. Like, I want to be that person. And a lot of times I feel like I can't be. So in college, I kind of realized that I needed to start taking those steps to at least manage my pain. I'm not sure if it will ever go away. I have hopes. I have hopes that if I do this physical therapy for enough years, that I will be able to say that I am actually at a 2 or a 3 pain level. I'm not sure if that will ever happen, but I now realize that I just need to make it a routine. It's about making it a habit. Like, this pain is a part of my life. So these things that I do to manage it also have to be a part of my life. And it also, it's become me time. You know, when I do my physical therapy, I listen to podcasts or I watch shows, or I'm researching grad school, so I'll watch like YouTube videos on grad school. So it's become me time. So I've learned to like it. I don't know if I love it, but I've definitely learned to like it and learned to kind of feel more at peace with it and less like it's a chore.
Right. You said your pain level, you were hoping to bring it down to a 2 or 3. So
Mm-hmm.
my question is, describe what a typical day for you is like. We do pain and pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. Sometimes it's straight pain, straight pleasure. So what does a typical day look like for you?
So usually when I wake up in the morning, and my muscles start to activate, I start to get some pain because they've been relaxed all night. So when I wake up and they start to tense up. So usually the morning is a bit hard, but after moving a little bit or taking a shower, the pain gets a little better. And I usually have a good few hours in the day, like between 9 and 12, where my back is feeling pretty good, where my body is feeling pretty good. And then around noon or afternoon, I usually start to get a little more pain. And that's when I might do my physical therapy exercises. And that usually helps to alleviate it a little bit. And at night is usually when the worst of the pain comes. So when I get tired, that's very correlated with my pain levels. So at night is when I usually feel the worst pain. And that is when I'll turn to my medications. And sleeping, like I mentioned before, sleeping is the worst. I dread going to sleep. I dread having to fall asleep. So a lot of times I don't even get ready for bed. I just don't want to go to sleep because I know the process that it's going to take to go to sleep. And not only am I usually in pain in the mornings, I'm also feeling foggy because some of the medication I take also makes me foggy in the morning.
Question for you. How you deal with your pain now, what your pain level like is now. Was this what your pain level looked like as a young adult, like as a teenager? Was the day the same, or was it different for you when you were in the middle of this as a 14-year-old? Like, I mean, audience, she's been living with this her whole life, but with us focusing on children today, was it the same as a young adult, or did you have to grow into this? Like, what was your pain level when you were younger?
When I was younger, when I first realized I had a really bad injury, the pain was horrible. I could not put one foot in front of the other without feeling pain. So my back was in so much pain, I could barely walk. I couldn't bend forward at all. So that pain of like bending forward and like walking lasted for a while, lasted for a few years, like between 14 and 16. And I actually developed these new ways of bending forward that wouldn't hurt my back, but that ended up kind of rearranging my back or my muscles in the wrong way. So now I have pain from doing all those movements that were supposed to in my head protect my back, actually ended up causing some muscles to become much weaker, and that happened so much over time. And now I have to work through that kind of pain. So the pain of the bulging discs bending forward, it's still there a bit, definitely not as much as when I was a child. But the pain today radiates. So it radiates down my leg, like I said, and the pain when I was a child didn't necessarily radiate. It was mostly focused in my back. So it's spread since I was a kid.
You mentioned your mom having back pain and trying to help you through it. You mentioned some of the specialists that you go through, or go to rather. Are there any other types of support that you've received, friends, any other types of physicians or clinicians that you want to share with us?
My pain management doctor has been a blessing, and I feel like he really listens to my pain, unlike physicians I've experienced in the past. As far as support, my family has been very supportive, and my friends, I never really loved to let my friends into my pain journey before, but in the past couple years, I have been letting my friends know a little bit more, and the support I've received from them is incredible. Like we will all be watching TV, and I'll start doing my physical therapy, and they're like, "Yeah, keep it up, like keep doing it." I even have some friends that keep me accountable. They're like, "Should you do some of your physical therapy?" So that has been a really great support system. And then I have found people in the chronic pain community, like you guys, and the chronic pain support group that I attended was super helpful. It was just it was amazing to have that support from people my age and other adults. I really felt like I had a community of people who understood and like listened to me when I attended those. So those were incredibly helpful. And I would suggest that anyone going through chronic pain at least try a support group. Like you don't have to do it every day or every week or whatever, but it's really helpful for those moments where you feel like I I can't go on, like I don't know what I'm gonna do.
See, Kalila, I'm glad for that moment. They didn't just hear it from us; they heard it from a chronic pain conqueror themselves.
Yeah.
Finding the support group, it's there.
We are always telling people about it. Now, I'm going to move into your quote because we always ask our guests to give like an inspiration, a quote. And your quote was really, it's amazing. So I'm going to say it and then I'm going to ask you where you got this from. So you said, it's funny. You're like, I'm not sure how inspiring this is, but even through the pain is woven into the fabric of my life and it permeates so much of my existence in the present moment. When I look back at my fondest memories and greatest joys, I usually remember I usually remember most strongly the joy that I felt being around the people I love and the fulfillment of growing into myself and my community. Pain is hardly ever the prominent memory or feeling when I look back at my best moments. That's beautiful. Like,
Very.
how did you get to that place where you realize this? Because I'm going to really lift you up as a young adult right now. I'm dealing with clients and we deal with our chronic pain groups, and there are people that do not have this concept. How did you get to recognizing what the most important things in your life are?
I So I feel a lot of times I get stuck in my head and I feel like, wow, my 20s are being wasted. They're wasting away because I can't sleep or because I'm always in pain and I can't necessarily do the things that I want to do. Um, and I'm very nostalgic. I love looking back. I have some friends that I've had since I was 12 years old, and we love talking about the past. And I just kind of realized that I cherish those moments so much, and that I don't, when I think back at them and I think about my happy memories, I don't feel the pain or I don't remember the pain. And that is something that keeps me going in my 20s because I know that, supposedly this is supposed to be the best time of my life. Being always in pain, I think, ooh, like what's ahead for me. But I just remember that my teenage years are looked back at fondly, and I have some of the greatest moments and the greatest communities that have supported me and loved me through it all. And I realized that looking back on my 20s, that's what I'm going to see. I'm going to see my communities and my friends and and my support systems and the fond memories I have of being a young person, and I'm not going to see the pain, and that is worth it to me.
Absolutely.
I'm just giving her a high five right now. You don't understand the amount of people that don't understand. They make the pain the most important part, that they miss the memories. So,
yep.
Oh my gosh.
It's hard. It's not easy, but it's something you work
exactly for. You work to it. Fiaba, we thank you so much. And I personally want to thank you for being the voice, because there's a lot of young kids right now who are going through what you went through. So thank you for being a voice for them, and hopefully they'll see this and be their own voice as well. Because as a child, I can only imagine how hard it is to speak up and advocate and really explain yourself. So I thank you. Kalila thanks you. The chronic pain community thanks you for your time and for sharing with us.
Thank you so much for having me on this. The work that you guys are doing is so important, and I'm so proud of you guys.
Thank you.
Tell us how we can follow you. If our audience members are out there, how can someone follow you on your journey or get in touch with you? Tell our audience how they can reach you.
So the main social media that I'm on right now is my Instagram, and my handle, you can see it where you can see my name. It's just Fiaba_Zakarian. Usually if you type Fiaba, you can find me pretty easily. And I don't necessarily share my chronic pain journey, but you can definitely talk to me on there. You can follow what I'm up to in my life. So look forward to seeing or hearing from you.
Awesome. We thank you once again, Fiaba, for coming on and taking the time to share with us.
Thank you so much. It was great meeting you.
Hang out backstage for a minute and we're going to come right back to you.
Awesome.
I have never been so speechless.
I think this is my second time being speechless for the season.
I'm sitting here and I know that I'm watching a woman in front of us, but I'm thinking about the 13-year-old who is trying to make their dreams come true and is fracturing their body even worse. And has a coach that's telling you, listen, can't be weak, stop being lazy. If you take time off, you're going to not improve. You're going to miss out. There's that fear of loss.
And we always talk about going to the doctor. So imagine someone deterring you from going to the doctor, to figuring out what's wrong with you.
There's a part where as soon as she said that her mom did gymnastics as well, that I was just like, thank you, Jesus, that she already had someone in her life that was able to associate with it.
And
was willing to, but she brought up words, and this is what I want our audience to know about, especially about today. She talked about depression. She talked about regret. She talked about being angry. She talked about trying to figure herself out. She talked about her community and her friends and family. And you guys need to know, stop judging a child and assume that because they are below a certain age, they don't understand what it looks like to be a human. Absolutely. It doesn't matter the age. They go through what you go through at any age.
Absolutely. I totally agree, especially with the part about the mental health. I didn't expect that part, and that's something that we always touch on, but it didn't even resonate with me until she said that, and I said, wow. Mental health is, we always say it's a real thing, and like we always say, it affects children no matter what the circumstance. And something like that, just her experiencing pain from so young, the mental health came along with it just that easy.
My heart hurts, right? Like, I mean, we started off with pleasure and I'm still in pleasure. Because we have this platform. But it hurts because she was able to figure out a way to talk. There are so many children that aren't allowed to say anything and they place, and she brought up, it happens a lot with athletes, and we're talking about basketball, football,
Yeah.
baseball,
Any type of
not
sport.
just
Yeah.
gymnastics. And we push our kids
Yep.
to be in this extracurricular activity,
Absolutely.
to have these recreational things. And it's like,
We don't know what it's causing.
yeah,
We don't know what it's causing.
we don't know what it's causing. Oh man. Am I allowed to take it to our keep it
I was
moving?
just about to ask you to do that for us.
My heart, you guys, like, I mean, like, I know that I wear my heart on my sleeve, but my heart, there is a part in my heart right now that's just like, because of the conversation
Yeah.
and the topic that she brought out. So again, this, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Okay, let's move it into our keep it moving moment right now, guys. It was so funny. I always love how God makes this happen. So today's keep it moment says this: strength does not come from winning. Your struggles develop your strength. When you grow through hardships and decide not to surrender, that is strength. And of all people, that comes from Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I love the fact that he said that. And I felt like it's so appropriate for today.
I think it's absolutely appropriate. Absolutely appropriate.
Okay. Close us out, Miss Sharifa.
Well, guys, unfortunately, that's our show. I wish we can go much longer, but that is our show. I'm Sharifa McLaren Thomas from YouTube The Thomas Life.
And I am Kalila Brucewell, the overcomer. We want to invite you back next week where we're going to have our guest, Claire. This is a woman that has dealt with arthritis, Crohn's disease, Berger's disease. There's diseases on here I can't even say, you guys, that I'm waiting for this woman to come on and explain. Again, we're going to have bloopers on, but she has dealt with chronic pain for at least 5. She's had traumatic migraines for 12 years,
Right.
But we're really going to focus on Crohn's disease next week. So I'm actually excited for our conversation.
I'm excited for that too. Guys, thank you for joining us for another chronic pain conversation. Be sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at CP Conversations. If you're a chronic pain sufferer, turn conqueror, and if you have even tips on how to manage through the pain, be sure to fill out our guest share your story form on any of our social media bio links and be one of our guests.
And on top of that, we're also inviting businesses and services that help and support or cater to our chronic pain community. So if you're a clinician or a physician, if you are maybe a CBD and THC provider, perhaps you're an organization that provides chronic pain resources. We want to see you on this show, and we invite you to promote your business and service. So again, follow us on those bio links.
Remember, Chronic Pain Conversations is a show that enlightens and advocates about chronic pain. We hope you have a blessed